Appreciate you all joining in. My name is Abbas. I'm the owner of the company Remote Leverage, and we've got Nix with us. Nix is our head of sales, and he's absolutely killing it. So, what we're going to do in this or workshop is I want us to kind of go over our entire sales process, how we hire virtual assistants from Latin America to do sales for us, what we look for when we're hiring, how we train them, how we set KPIs, how we do role plays and increase their performance, and the contests that we run. How do we decide who we're going to keep and who we're going to let go of, and basically how we've improved our process to the point where now we have 29% closing rate on cold traffic, which is kind of really difficult to get to in this space. So having said that, again, appreciate you all jumping in. If you have any questions as we discuss the different points we are going to talk about, feel free to just unmute yourself, interrupt us, ask any questions. We'll address those questions just to kind of keep it lively so that way it doesn't feel like a webinar. I don't like the webinars where you're there and you're just listening the whole time. So and we'll make it very interactive. But first, I want to start off, Nix. I want to talk about our current closing rate. So I'm just going to pull up some notes. I think at this point, we're now at what, 29%? Is that right?
Yes, which is amazing,
Awesome.
considering that a few months ago, I would say December, we were just at 14%, which is a
Yeah.
good baseline.
Right.
Coming out of April to
Yeah.
29% already half of the month, and looking at it, we're going to be closing strong for the month of April.
Yeah. Yeah. So back in December, we were at 14%. There were even some periods we were at 7, 8%, and now we're up to 29%. And so we made a lot of changes to get to that point, obviously, over the past 4 months. So I want to talk about that today as well. But before we talk about that, I want to first talk about what is, in my opinion, the most important thing. And that is, if you want good sales reps, you want good people, and you want high closing rates, you need to make sure you have the right people on the team, because you can implement all the strategies we're going to share today and all the marketing strategies, the training strategies, but if you've got the wrong team, it doesn't really matter because they're not going to perform. So I want to talk about first, where do we hire people from, and what criteria do we specifically look for? So let's start off with where our target regions are when it comes to hiring sales reps specifically.
So right now, we are aggressively hiring in Latin America, which is like
Oh, I'm so
most.
sorry. Nick, somebody's saying that it's hard to hear you. Are you able to maybe speak louder or get a little closer to the
Let me, can you guys hear me better? Or let me try to put my headset
put the
on.
headset on? Yeah, yeah, we'll do that. Well, I'll answer
Are you
that
good
question
now?
while he does that. So, in terms of
Mhm.
regions, we've tried a lot of different regions when it comes to sales reps. And in my opinion, what has worked out the best for us so far is hiring specifically from Latin America. And there are many reasons behind that. Obviously, the time zone is one big thing because they're energetic. They're, doing sales during their daytime. They're not working at night and trying to do sales. But the other thing behind it is that they understand the cultural, aspects of American, people. And so like they can connect, they can build rapport. If somebody says a joke, they understand it way better. And so when people talk to our sales reps, they don't feel like they're talking to a virtual assistant. They feel like they're talking to just like anybody else that they would meet at any other company. And so in my opinion, that is a huge help is hiring from Latin America.
That is so true, boss. And aside from that, the big comparison is like a lot of Filipinos have very strong accent, and Latin American people, even though they have accent, a little accent, it's quite acceptable. It's
Yeah.
understandable. It's
Yeah.
not distracting compared to someone from the Philippines. And I'm a Filipino, so
Yeah.
just telling everyone.
Yeah, he's from the Philippines, and so and he's obviously experienced hiring VAs as sales reps and also Latin Americans. Now, I want to talk about our criteria. So when we're hiring people, back in the day when we used to have 14% or 10% close rates, our criteria was very different than it is today. Talk to me about our new criteria. What do you look for when you have sales interviews?
Yeah, so that is actually very interesting because you actually gave me a challenge to hire people with no sales background and turn them into salespeople. So I was like, okay, how am I going to do that? So what I did was I looked back to the fundamentals and asked myself, what makes a great salesperson? And that became the new criteria that I was looking for, whether they have a sales background or no sales background.
By the way,
And
can I just want to interrupt, sorry, a little bit and talk about why did we decide to even hire people that have no sales background? So what we've noticed is that people that have sales background have habits that we just didn't like. And a lot of times it's very difficult to get people to remove their bad habits and, buy into whatever we're trying to teach them. The way we do sales is very different, and we're going to explain that in a little bit. And so we decided to go after people that don't have a sales background because we wanted to kind of build them up from scratch. And the challenge here is that, how do you get somebody who is not used to sales to know how to handle objections, know how to close multiple times, and, because we like closing hard. And we'll talk about that as well in a bit. But, we just wanted to start from scratch and not have somebody from a different company who was trained badly, remember their bad training, and try to bring it over here.
that is true. And another challenge with hiring someone from with a really strong sales background is the ego.
Yeah.
And that's really the nature of being a good salesperson, right? You think that you're the best in what you do. That makes a good salesperson, but it's hard when it comes to teaching them, and it's not good for the company culture as well because these people like think they're above the regulations, don't want to follow process, don't want to learn because they think they're already good.
Yeah.
So that's and it's really, really challenging to find someone with really great sales background. So going back to what I was talking about, what I look back and thought about what makes a great salesperson. And there's a lot of similar skill set that you can find with someone having customer service background and some and finding the right salesperson. What are these criteria? So first and foremost, communication skills. So if a person can handle a communication, can handle the communication with you, talk to you, like you're just their friend, speak casually, not, but the point is like you're relating to that person, then they're going to be doing good in sales. I remember one specific interview wherein I hired this person because instead of me interviewing her, she turned out interviewing me. So if she can do that, with any other customer, then this person can sell. And that person doesn't have a sales background, but excellent communication skills.
Yeah.
Another thing that makes a really good salesperson is confidence. But you have to be careful. You have to hire someone that is confident, can talk naturally, has that charisma, but not too cocky. So there's a borderline. Being confident and being arrogant, you don't want that person to be overconfident, but still, you need to see the confidence in them. Another thing that I would like to do when we are hiring is like I'm gauging their fit for sales because there's like a sales mentality. And one thing that I like doing, and some people might not agree with this, is like I ask them a question. This is how we do things here. And so if you don't hit the target, we're gonna let you go. But if you do well, then we're gonna be rewarding you handsomely.
Yeah.
It's not really that easy for us to let go, but just putting up the challenge out there so that I would know that they would really try their best. And a lot of people, to be honest with you, I'm surprised. I found few people who are really good communicators, but they don't want that. They want something that is like stable. So okay, you're not gonna work out because
Yeah.
if you don't have the sales competitive mentality of being the best, it's not gonna work out. That's something that we're factoring in just in the recruitment process.
Yeah.
Um,
So right at the beginning of the interview, we basically let them know, look, this is not a stable job where you're just going to come in, you're going to collect your paycheck and go on with your day. If you want that, go to work a different job, not sales. If you're going to be in sales, you need to be hungry, you need to chase after the sales, you need to, value leads because at any moment you're only as good as your last sale, essentially. At any moment, if your performance drops, we're going to have to let you go. And I know this might sound harsh, but if you don't set that type of expectation, people will just kind of coast along and just do the bare minimum to stay employed, and we don't want them.
that's true. That is true. Another thing that I look into, and this is, I think, one of what makes a good salesperson is like they have to be smart to be able to think off their feet. So what I do is I ask them like off questions. So tell me about the music you like. What makes the music good? What is your standard? So you have to challenge their thinking if they can respond to you right away and respond well, because that what makes a salesperson good. When you're trying to overcome objections, when you're trying to answer questions, you have to be able to think quickly and respond confidently. That's what you can gauge as well during an interview. And this is one thing, and I'm showing this a lot, that I am, doing my hand gestures, waving my head, because I look for that as well when I interview a salesperson. Is you want someone with excellent communication skills, not just verbally, but all the non-verbal communication skills. Like they should have the right body language. They should have like hand gestures emotionally. They should be showing that into your faces, because that factors a lot, especially if you are doing face-to-face sales or virtual face-to-face meetings. People can see that. So if you don't show that, because that's something that is very hard to teach, then you're not going to be good for sale.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So that's what we look for in sales reps. And the other thing is like we want them to sound confident during the interview and not sound nervous, because if they sound nervous on the interview, they're going to sound nervous with the client. And I don't know how it is with everybody else's business, but in our business, every day we spend about $800 per sales rep, and so it's expensive. And so if they mess up one day, that we lose $1,000 almost, plus their salary and all of that. So like we need them to be comfortable, they need to be confident, they need to know how to handle the sale, think on their feet without needing, without us having to burn through a bunch of leads through many days before we figure out, oh, this person was not the right fit, because that could be a $6,000, $10,000 loss just like that.
That is
Um,
so true.
so we talk about hiring criteria. Um, how are you? Let's talk about our training process, because obviously we're hiring people that have no sales background, that are just in customer service. So, by the way, we found that customer service reps are the easiest to turn into sales reps, because they already know how to talk. A lot of times in their previous roles, they would upsell, downsell, do all of these different things. They know how to keep people happy. They know how to build rapport. So it's actually in many cases, I found that the customer service reps perform better than the previous sales reps. Um, so I want to talk about how are you training them? Let's talk about the training process. Let's say somebody gets the job. What do you do on day one, day two, day three, day four, all of that? Let's talk about that.
For day one, usually that's where I discuss all the fundamentals, all the things that they need to know, like what the product is, what our process looks like, the script, all classroom discussion. And then after day one, day two would be more on call listening to the calls that we have, providing feedback, what's the right way of doing things.
Hmm.
Now, within that scope of period, what I like doing when it comes to training is giving them assignments. So, first day, I give you the script. You have to learn this. I cannot, and I tell you, I will not let you hit the phones unless you memorize that. So, they have like 2 days to memorize a long, really long script, and they should be familiar with it. Otherwise, you'll suffer into the role play. So that's one of the assignments that I assign. Another thing is these are the recommended objections. These are the testimonials. Watch all of this. So the first part of the training, we feed them all the information that they need. Now, right after that, they are subjected to role play sessions, and I think this is one of the reasons why we are successful when it comes to training. And just to give everyone an idea of how successful we are, on the most recent 7 people that we deployed, 5 of them made their first sale on their first call. Now, some will say it's beginner's luck, but we were so lucky, if that's really just luck, that
Yeah.
we're having this kind of success. Like 5 out of 7 people that we just deployed made their first sale on their first call. And that is because before we even deployed them and asked them to join the client meetings, they undergo extreme role play session. Like I'm not proud of it. Well, maybe I'm really proud of it that the trainees that I have are scared to join the role play sessions with me, because I'm like the worst customer that you can ever find. So they are used at really handling really the worst customer. Like I pretended like I'm really, I don't have money. I pretend that I am really rude to the point that they cannot speak, and that trains them. the when there are use at handling the worst customer, so when you deploy them and they handle a regular customer, because customers are not rude. It's just like me. I want to give them the worst case scenario during training. So when they're dealing with the regular customers, they are killing it because they're familiar with dealing with really really tough customers that would object on everything that they will say, that will interrupt them and will try to, disrupt their flow. So when they're doing their flow, when they get regular customers, it's very easy
Yeah,
for
it's
them.
very easy because it's like they've done so much training, so much role play with you, and you're a tough sale. So then the normal people are like, "Oh, this is so easy. They can handle the objections with no problem." So interesting. So the first 2 days you train them to follow the script. Now, some people don't like scripts; they want to kind of free flow things, and we've tried that in the past as well. It doesn't work that well. And then if something does start working, you're not sure, like, okay, why is it working for this person but not this other person? Versus if you have everybody just kind of follow a script, it makes it a lot better because then if one area is having a drop off or you're losing customers, you're getting a lot of objections, you can change that area and then it improves for everybody. So I would rather have everyone follow the scripts, as close as possible. So that way we get more data on what works and what doesn't work versus if everybody has their own style, we can never improve our sales process because we don't know where people are dropping off. Everyone has their own style. So no, I fully agree with that. I want to move us on to okay. So I'm sorry. So you role play. How many days do you role play with them?
It depends on their skill level, to be honest
Hmm.
with you. So if they do well in a specific role play, okay, I think they're ready. But if they're not doing well, um, as much as I can, like for example, on the most recent batch that we had, it took them like one role play per day, which is like 7 days
Hmm.
before I deployed and agreed, like, okay, you can now take sales meeting. And there's even like people with like two role plays, okay, you did great. So we can now. So it's really a matter of skill, and you adjust. That's the thing. So I also made adjustments with the way I am training them. Like if it's not working, then I'll do one on one. Okay, I'll provide real time feedback. And I think what's working out is when you're providing straight to the point, real time feedback. So some people would try to like sugarcoat things. Okay, you did well, but you need to work on this, and that doesn't work. You have to tell them, okay, you're not doing well. You need to change this. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. I wouldn't let you start making phone calls unless you repair this. So do this straight to the point. So it's
Yeah.
easier for them to understand. So, and we've had people that, just in the training, because they don't like being given feedback or straight up criticism, they gave up, and we've had some of those, and it's actually good that at that point you already screen them out, because if they're not open to feedback, they're not going to be willing to improve. And
100%.
you know just a little adversity, it's not even dealing with real customers. If they cannot handle hard customers, and they cannot handle straight up feedback, they're not
Yeah.
fit for this environment.
Yeah, yeah. I love that because I don't want people to string us along where they're kind of like, half as good as they should be, but we're just kind of, okay with it. It's like, no, if you're not a good fit, just get out. Get out. Let's make some room for actual people that would love to be here, that are competitive, that are hungry, and that's the type of environment I want. And also when you have really good sales reps and then you have a couple of people that are not good, they'll just drag everybody's performance down because people are like, "Hey, I'm getting the same amount of leads as this person, but this person's not closing it." And so if this person was not here, I would be getting more leads and I would be closing more sales. So this guy is actually hurting my sales. And so we don't want that. Also, I found that momentum helps when everyone is doing well. People continue to do well because they want to keep that momentum. And so if people drag down our closing rate, they drag down how many sales we do, then everybody gets into that negative mindset. It's like, yeah. And people that don't do well complain all the time. And I hate complaining because, again, it also drags momentum down. So we're just very brutal about just keeping good people on the team. So that's great.
It is contagious.
Now,
Yeah.
how about the people that are already here? So let's say people are done with their training, you deploy them, they're doing well. I want to talk about our daily training because we started doing daily trainings, I think about 4 months ago. We used to do weekly, and then we're like, you know what, that's just not good enough because it takes too long before we give them feedback on how they're doing. And so we started doing every day an hour-long huddle where we go over, what they're doing well, what they're not doing well. Talk to me about that.
Well, that has been consistent, and I think that plays a good role in our success. Because when it's like a group session, we're gonna be listening to a call that we randomly pick or I previously listened to, and then we highlight some key points in this call. And what's good about it is like everyone is learning all at the same time. So you're providing feedback. It's straight up, but it's not rude. You're just being straightforward. Everyone learns because you're discussing it and it becomes a discussion.
Yeah.
So during our team meeting, once we discuss a call, everyone is now giving their input on how they can make things better. And I am actually quite surprised because sometimes I talk about an opportunity and I'm not trying to like direct that to the person, and then one person will admit, okay, I do that. So what should I do now? I'm not talking about you, but since I'm
Yeah.
bringing up this opportunity, they are kind of like, okay, I admit I do that.
Yeah, they
And
make that mistake because
that's
they want to improve. They want to
yeah,
get better. And
exactly.
for those that are not catching on, basically what we do is we watch our sales recordings every day. So every call we do is recorded. And so on these daily huddles, basically we start the daily huddle with us watching the recording and then critiquing what happened on that call. Did they follow the script? How was the discovery? How was the presentation? How was the sample recording? How was the pricing presentation? How many times did they try to close? How many times did they handle objections and then build value and try to close again and things like that? And then people are like, you know what? I make this mistake here. Can you tell me how to fix that as well? So it's really cool.
Exactly. I think one of the reasons why we are actually able to improve a lot is me and you, we both listen to a lot of calls. And the way we were doing things 4 months ago to the way we're doing things now is quite different. Like an example, um, when we were starting out like 4 months ago, we are championing like just be straightforward, be quick with the phone calls, no fluff, just be straightforward.
Yeah.
And because we listened to a lot of these sales conversations, we are able to make revisions on how we are uh, doing sales. Like, for example, now we discovered that we are going to be making more sales if we provide more value to the client. So instead of like rushing and like making a good call straightforward, we're now spending time providing value. What I like to be teaching now, especially to my new hires, is building value. So, how does it work? Whenever you ask a question, you probe during the discovery, you ask them probing questions. You listen carefully what the clients are going to say, and then you respond by building value.
Hmm.
Always, when you ask a question, the first step is ask a question, second is listen, and the third step is provide value. Those three steps made a lot of impact in the sales that we are doing right now.
Yeah.
And that's like what the new hires that we have are consistently doing because
Can,
I
can you talk to
practice
me
them
about
to
what
do it.
building value means though? Because I think a lot of people hear that term a lot and it's like, well, what does that even mean, build value? So talk to me about what would that look like on an actual sales call?
Let me give you an example. So part of the sales call, and everyone will be hearing this a lot, is like what's being discussed during what makes a good sales call is like probing. So you probe, like you get information,
When you say
and
probing, you mean discovery questions, basically?
discover. That is
Yeah.
correct. So when you through the discovery questions, right? So the common mistake of a regular sales rep is they ask these questions, but they don't use the answers.
Mhm.
So it's just pretty much just like it becomes a checklist wherein I need to ask these questions and then I proceed with the flow. But you didn't use what you asked.
Yeah. So
So
they don't
it becomes
customize their
meaningless.
presentation to fit what the client pain points are. So if a client says, "Hey, I'm having a problem because I need somebody that speaks Spanish," and then they do their presentation and they talk about the Filipino VAs and the Spanish VAs equally, but it's like, no, this person specifically said this problem in their business. Let's use that during your presentation and mold the presentation around their problem so they feel
Exactly.
that you actually understand what's going on with them.
Exactly. Let
Yeah.
me give you an example. So if I ask the customer, one of the probing questions that we do is, do you need someone who can speak Spanish or just plain English? So the usual answer of the customer is, yeah, I probably I would need getting someone who is bilingual will be added value. So how do you build value on that statement? Well, the response should, a normal sales rep would just say, yes, that's great. That doesn't build value. So how should you respond? So the value build response is, um, definitely we can get you someone who can speak Spanish. The advantage in hiring from Latin America is they work in similar time zone, and aside from that, they can also speak bilingual.
Yeah.
So that's a value build response. You responded by confirming that yes, we can do it, and you added value on your response.
Makes sense.
That
So instead of
makes a
just
lot of
acknowledging it,
difference.
you're
Correct.
repeating what they say to them so they fully understand that you actually get that. And by the way, this might seem like a small change, but I can tell you these are the little things that cause people to say, "Oh, this guy understands my problem." And when they feel like you actually understand the problem and you know what they want, the chance of them buying goes through the roof. Every time I hop on sales calls, if I feel like the sales rep doesn't actually understand me, I think to myself, you know, are they even a good fit for this? Do they even know what my problems? What if he's just trying to sell me just to get me to sign up and then I'm stuck with this product that I don't actually care about? But if I feel like they fully understand the problem, they can describe it just as well as I can describe my problem, then I'm way more likely to buy from them.
Exactly. You establish yourself as an expert. So that's what we've been training our people as well. So that how it goes is like, so a good example is, what kind of virtual assistant are you looking for? And our clients usually tell, like, I would need a salesperson. How do we provide value? Well, this is what you need. You need someone aggressive. You need someone who can overcome gatekeepers. You can need someone who can close or schedule appointments for you. So you see the difference? When normal salespeople will just say, okay, yes, we can great give you a good salesperson. But how we do it is, definitely you want someone with these characteristics, that's what we're going to give you. Because we know that these are the characteristics of a good salesperson. Same thing, whatever position that is. It's all about building value.
Chris is asking, what tool do we use to record, and then that way we can analyze the sales calls after? We tried a lot of different things. Firefly's AI works really well. It's like $15 a month or whatever. And it automatically joins the calls, records the transcript, the video, and all of that, so we can skip through these and then watch them at 2x speed or 3x speed or whatever. So Fireflies is what we use.
Yeah,
Great
what I
question.
like about Fireflies as well is, like, it also provides you with a call summary, which is, I would say 80 to 90% accurate. So just by reading it, you can entirely see what happens on a phone call.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So, okay, moving on. So we talked about the training, we talked about the role play. Let's talk about how we do closing versus other methods we tried and how it changed our close rate. Because when back in November, December, our closing rate was about 14%. And then we decided to do a change where we're like, you know what? Instead of trying to close people hard on the same day, let's do more closing on the follow up and then just be less aggressive on the same day. And then that took our closing rate from 14% to like 7 or 8%. It was crazy low. And then we went back to being very aggressive. Closing same day. We either close you or we lose you the same day. We will still do follow up, but I don't want to win you in the follow up. I want to win you today or I lose you today, essentially. I want to talk to you about that. Let's go into why do you think that's working out the way it is versus the follow, because everybody else says, oh, the money's in the follow, but we found that to be the opposite for us.
Yeah, and I think one of the factors is the industry. We're talking to CEOs and business owners, and it's very hard once, on their daily basis. Once they meet with you, it's very hard to get back with them because they're too busy. So when you don't close the call right there and then it's actually like it's gonna take you a lot of chasing. Usually, it's gonna take you 3 or 4 weeks just to close a deal, which takes too long. One thing about what we're doing, because we're encouraging same day closing, is what works, and is we're able to diagnose their needs. Because if you are not trying to do a same day closing, usually you'll give up with the objection like I'll consult with my partner or I'll think about it. But what we're doing, since we're encouraging same day closing, is okay, so what about our offer doesn't work for you? So now you are digging deep as to what is the problem or the pain point of the customer. And it's still not aggressive, but you are digging deep, and now you're able to provide real-time answers and real-time solutions. Otherwise customer wouldn't say, if you just let them go, or like, after one rebuttal you just let them go, because now you're really digging deep, probing into what is the real reason why they don't want to do it right now.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's working
Makes
for
a
us,
lot of
so it's
sense.
not really pushing out.
So essentially, basically, what happens is somebody might say to you, I got to talk to my partner. And it's like, that's a smokescreen. They don't really have to talk to their partner. They just don't want to sign up, but they don't want to tell you the real reason why. And so, what a lot of other people do is they say, okay, no problem, talk to your partner, I'll follow up with you. But they're not sold. So the minute they get off, they're never going to talk to their partner. They're never going to think about you again. And then you lose that customer forever. Versus what we would do here is we say, okay, no problem, talk to your partner because you don't want to, you don't want to reject them. Talk to your partner. However, if your partner was to not sign up, what would the reason be why they would not want to move forward with this? And now you're, pinning it on the partner, just like they said. And so then they're like, well, the reason that they probably would say no is because of pricing, or the reason they would say no is because we don't like, the one-time payment option or whatever. And so then you can, okay, great, no problem. So that's one reason. Is there any other reason? Well, the other reason why they wouldn't sign up is because XYZ. No problem. Great. So you get all their objections out, and now you can actually handle the objections that they would have never told you about otherwise if you were to just follow up, where you
Exactly.
become annoying and they don't want to talk to you because they're never interested. So now you get the real objections out. You handle the objection, and then what we teach people is don't just handle the objection and wait for the next objection. Handle the objection and then go back and try to close again. Because otherwise you're going to lose them after you handle the objection, or they come up with another objection. You want people to continue moving along that, closing line.
True. And I think that's what made a lot of difference with the way we're handling things now.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. So we talked about closing. Let's talk about some of the other things, like such as firing people and replacing sales reps that are not performing well. So when we launch people, you know, I'm a big fan of letting people go fast if they're not a good fit. Because if you don't, you're delaying them getting another job that is more suitable for them. So not only are you costing yourself money, you're also costing them money and time and wasting their, the other opportunities they could be getting. And also you're losing out on someone else who would have been a great fit to work for you because they might get a job somewhere else because you couldn't hire them because you've got this other bad person that's not a good fit. Um, Talk to me about how you determine when to let go of someone versus giving them more time.
Actually, it's very easy when it comes to sales because you can just rely on the numbers. Is you can look at it objectively. If someone is not performing, you can just rely on the stats. And as much as I say that we just fire people quickly, it's really not that quick. Give them like sufficient time to really make up for it or show up that they can improve. And we have tried it in the past. Like on an average, it takes us like 1 month. Give them that kind of leeway, 3 to 4 weeks before we even let them go. And I think that's sufficient time because if you cannot show improvement, then it's not going to work. And the thing is, like, as a sales manager, as someone managing salespeople, you can give that person too much time, but what you're robbing is the time that you could have allotted working with your other salespeople. That if you gave them that time, they could have sell more.
Yes.
So you're not just robbing giving wasting your time. You're actually robbing your precious time to the sales people that you currently have that is doing well. So although some might find it like controversial or not, like they would think that it's not right to do it, you still coach them, you still provide feedback, you still give them, you teach them what are the things that they should be doing. But if some people are not just out of it,
Yeah.
just not cut out for this kind of sales that we are doing. And we have a lot of good examples wherein we have to let go a really, really experienced salesperson was like done a lot of sales and even solar sales, which is quite difficult, but didn't work for us. And it's a matter of like the communication skills or the way this person is communicating is not aligned to how we're doing things. So it's tough whenever we need to make that decision, but we have to make that decision.
Yeah. Yeah. And B2B sales is very different. I've done both B2B and I've done B2C. B2C are a lot more fluffy. When I say fluffy, it means like you build a lot of rapport, you talk to them like you're trying to be friends. B2B, people don't have time. They want to get on a call, they want to understand, what the value is. They want you to cut to the chase. And sometimes people that are very experienced with B2C, where they're used to building a lot of rapports for hours, don't adjust fast enough to understand. Like when I get on a sales call, I don't want you asking about my day or how I'm doing or where I live.
Sure.
It's like I don't care. Just get to the point. Here's the problem that I'm having. Is your solution a good fit? If it is, let's talk about it. If it's not, I'm hopping off, right? And a lot of people are in that same situation. So it's hard for them to adjust, and that's kind of why the customer service reps have worked out really well for us in sales, because then we get to train them from scratch, and they don't have these bad habits that the more experienced people usually have. I want to talk
Very true.
about as well the next thing, and that is how we pay people, because I think that's very important. I've noticed that having the right commission structure and the right pay structure gets people to do things that you want them to do without you having to continuously push them, right? And I'm a big fan of setting incentives that make everybody win if the company achieves its objectives. So I want to talk about, when you're hiring sales reps, how much are you offering to pay per hour? And then how much do we pay on commissions and things of that nature?
So, to be honest with you, it's really, really crucial that we pay good when it comes to hiring salespeople, because salespeople, you want them to be money motivated.
Right.
You want them to really, really work on that money. The usual mistake of a lot of companies is like they're thinking that if they pay a little when it comes to the basic pay and then pay commissions, that would work. It doesn't. It doesn't. You cannot get good, high quality salespeople if you are not willing to, let's say, invest on a few more dollars just to get really someone good. So we're paying above market, really
Yep.
above market and what usual. And I was able to build a really good team because even with my past companies, because we're paying them generously. Um, like for example, for the last big company that I worked with, we pay our sales rep above what they're gonna be making. Competitively, it's actually very competitive. Plus excellent commissions, and we're able to generate 1 million in MRR, monthly recurring revenue, because I built like a team of highly experienced salespeople. So that's what we are doing here as well. We are paying our salespeople very competitive basic salary. Aside from the commissions that they're getting a percentage of everything that they're selling.
Yeah.
So
I know
there's
Nix
an
is
incentive.
avoiding to give specific numbers. I'm gonna give specific numbers. I don't care. So for us, we do $10 per hour. All sales reps get $10 per hour. Most companies pay about 7 to 8. And so when we offer 10, we can get literally anybody we want because we're going to be the highest in terms of base. So in Latin America, $10 per hour is really good. That's one thing. The other thing I've come up with is I give 1.5% of their revenue that is generated from the sales that they close. And what that comes out to is usually they get to double their pay. So they get $10 per hour, and then they usually get to $20 per hour or $19 per hour once you factor in their commissions. Now that might seem like a lot, but honestly, the way I look at it is the $10 per hour, they're going to get that no matter what, right? But they don't get to $20 per hour or whatever unless they are performing really well. And if they're performing really well, you're making so much money that their pay is the least of your worries. Like to me, payroll is the cheapest thing I will ever do because good people, good sales reps, good marketers, good admins, good operations, whatever, they provide so much value to the point where their hourly rate and their pay is irrelevant. Like it doesn't really matter. If I pay you, say, whatever, 3,000 or $3,500 a month, including your commissions, but then you can, instead of selling at 7%, you're selling at 30%. You're making me so much more money than if I was to try to save, from 3,000 a month, try to take it down to 2,000, and now you're closing at 7% because I'm only stuck with crappy people. Exactly. I mean, Chris is saying, yeah, that's not a lot. 100% agreed. And that's the benefit of hiring from Latin America. It's like these numbers seem like, they're a lot for Latin American people, but like in the US, it's nothing. Obviously, you can't even get entry level people, and so you get that geographical arbitrage or whatever you want to call it, right? Because it's way cheaper to live in these other
That's true.
countries.
That's true. And I have a lot of examples wherein, you try to save by hiring cheap and you get poor results. Like there's even one instance wherein one of my companies that I work with, the CEO asked me to hire a cold caller, and his budget is just like $580 per month.
Yeah,
And then after a month, 2, 3 months after, he's complaining, oh, this person is just generating one appointments per week. Well, what can you expect? Your budget is just like 580 per month, and you're expecting a lot of appointments.
right.
So
Yeah.
even if it's just cold calling, you cannot expect when you're not willing to pay.
The worst type of clients that we get sometimes, or prospects, I should say, because they never even sign up because we push them away, are the people that come to us and say, "Hey, I've been paying $5 per hour for Filipino VAs, and I want to pay $5 per hour for the VAs you guys get us." And it's like, well, the reason you're talking to us is because your $5 per hour people have not worked out for the 5 years you've been trying Filipino VAs for $5 per hour. Like, don't you think maybe now you want to try something different? And they're like, nah, I want to pay $5 per hour. It's like, okay, well, that's fine. Go continue doing that for another 5 years. Not only are you losing money, you're wasting money on people that are not really producing results, and then you keep switching through them. But the other problem that you get is that you're missing out on all this growth, that you could have otherwise have had because you just have bad people, right? And sometimes, people look at that and it's like, you know, they don't understand you need to build all of these things in order to get to the revenues that you want to get to. Like back in December, Nix, I'm just going to share, um, we were at $50,000 a month in revenue, which is not really a whole lot, right? $50,000 a month in revenue. And it's like for us to now we're going to hit 300,000 this month. By June, our target is to hit 500,000 a month in revenue. And we're on track to do that. So how do we jump from December 50,000 to now we're going to hit 300,000 this month, or probably even more, in such a short amount of time, just about 4 months or whatever? The reason is because we built out all these processes, we hired the right people, we changed the scripts, we changed the training, and we did all of that so that we can be in a position to grow the company. You don't get to 300,000 on $50,000 a month, procedures and training and people and teams. You need to have the right procedures and the right team for the future and then bring that forward, not the other way around. And so sometimes people might listen to all of the things we're doing right now and say, oh, that's just too much work. I'm just not in a position to do daily huddles, to hire the right people, to pay $10 per hour and commissions and stuff. And it's like, yes, that might be true, but the reason you're not going to get to the next stage is because you don't think you're in that position, and you need to force yourself to be in that position so that you move your business forward. Otherwise, you're just going to be stuck in the same position the whole time. And we get that across many different areas, not just hiring sales reps. People come to us and they want to hire a marketer and they want to pay $6 per hour, but it's like when I hired our first director of marketing, we were doing 30,000 a month or 25,000 a month, and her base salary was $3,500 a month. So that her base salary was about 10% of the revenue we were generating, not profit revenue. And I know that obviously she also has to spend money on marketing. So to me, it's like, okay, if I hire this person, she might spend our entire monthly revenue just in her marketing. But I know for us to get to the next stage, I have to pull the trigger and take that risk. And sometimes you just have to do that for you to continue growing the business and reinvest, you know?
That is why it's really important that your first hire, especially when you're building up a sales team, is someone really, really good. Because that first hire can be your manager, can be your director after a few months.
Right.
If you're able to hire a really good salesperson, that person can train and that person can manage people, then you're all good
Yeah.
because you don't need to do anything anymore. You don't need to do the huddles yourself. You have someone who will do all these things for you, who will train new people for you, who will manage all these people for you. You're giving yourself your uh, time. that
Yeah.
which is really important when you own a business because you can be doing a lot of other things.
100%. Yeah. I mean, honestly, when I first met and hired Nix, I wasn't ready to hire a sales manager, but I was like, you know what? We're not big enough because I'm not ready to hire sales managers. I'll hire the sales manager. He'll do a better job than I could because I'm not a sales manager. I don't have the patience to train people like that. And, one of the reasons we've grown so fast is because I've got the right people. And hiring the right person, especially for the first role, like the first sales rep you hire, the first sales manager you hire, the first marketing director you hire, those are so important. You can't mess that up. You have to go after high quality and you have to be willing to pay for it, even if it's uncomfortable, because otherwise, if you put in the wrong person, for the rest of the time, you will have them be the ceiling. And you don't want a bad person to be the ceiling of the skills
Sure.
that you will have on the team. Chris is asking, is hiring an expat in Mexico or Latin America better for complicated high ticket 5K to 50K? What is the pool of available expats in CSC time zone? So, Chris, great question. Yeah, I would definitely hire from Latin America for that. We get a lot of people that do high ticket sales in that price range. Our average client pays us between $6,000 to $15,000. So, very similar in that instance as well. But yeah, we get a lot of people that do that, and so I would definitely hire from Latin America. They will work whatever time zone, because in Latin America you have people in the EST, CST, and PST time zone, and so either way, if you're in the CST, you can get somebody in CST, or you can just get them in EST or PST, and then have them work an hour earlier or after, whatever. So they'll adjust to your time zone for sure. I think we've covered. Oh, so I'm sorry. So we talked about pay, $10 per hour plus commission. The commissions we pay 1.5% of the revenue that they generate, including on repeat business. So someone might hire from us one time right now, and then they come back because we get a lot of repeat clients because we offer a 50% discount if you're a repeat client. So we get a lot of repeat business, and we don't put a cap. And so the reason I don't put a cap on how much you can make from people that maybe you've sold 6 months ago and you're still making money from them is because I want their income to continue to grow. Their passive income is what we call it. Where it's like you've sold people 6 months ago and they still pay us because they keep coming back. And so then it becomes very difficult for them to leave us and go find another job, because if they leave us, they will lose out on all this other income that they otherwise would be collecting. So the longer they stay here, the bigger their past client database is, which continues to rehire, and the more money they're making. So then it's like they're really good at their job. They're making a lot of money from passive income they've sold from a long time ago, and then nobody can poach them from us anymore at that point, because
Yeah.
turnover is very expensive. But I also want to talk
And
about contests. So we do these contests every month, and we post about people's results publicly. Talk to me about that. What do we do there?
yeah, it really, really fosters good competition, not the toxic one, but good competition among the team. Like right now, we are running a top performer incentive, which they will get $400 if they're the top performer, and we're posting real-time results. So that's kind of like, you know, getting their competitive spirit really. Everyone's really hyped, and everyone's participating, a little bit of trash talking, a little bit of people. Okay, just give me a moment. I have a call. I'll convert. I'll follow. I'll catch up. So everyone's really hyped, and we do all these things. Like we even do random stuff. We're in like, okay, whoever breaks this record gets $200. Like I have a personal challenge to the team. Like, okay, break our record of one individual sale. I mean, 1 week sales performance of 9 sales, and you get $200.
Yeah.
So all these things, we are really rewarding top performance. We're not, we're encouraging people to perform well, and if they do so, they're going to be rewarded. And we are doing all that in our chat room, and everyone is really hyped because we post real-time results, we commend people, we like everyone is participating, everyone can see how they're doing, including commissions. Everyone can see their commissions daily on how much they will make. So everyone's really looking forward in those closing deals. So that's really how we built this culture of everyone really, really good sales culture when everyone is hype, everyone is competitive, everyone wants to do well.
Yeah.
And that's
Everyone gets to see how much other people are making. We don't hide that. It's like, hey, Natasha's making this much this month. How much are you making? And it's like it's listed in order. And so they get to see this other person is doubling their pay. Why am I not doubling my pay? I'm not doing well enough. I need to get better, right? And so there's that. We also post like, okay, here's a leaderboard. I'm going to share my screen, just kind of share the leaderboard. So like, here's the leaderboard, of this is the competition. We've got top performer of the month. Here's how many sales each one of these people did so far. And then we've got rookie of the month. This is how many sales these rookies did. Now, some of them have ones or whatever. It's because they just started, right? And so that's kind of how, and we post this multiple times a day, just as the sales progress, because then it gets people hyped up and, they become more competitive when they see that.
I didn't expect you will share that. I could have beautify it more. But I'm a salesperson, so I'm not good at admin. So that's just something that I came up with.
On
But
the spot.
yeah, and if you can see, like we've had a new hire, which is like I said, 5 out of the 7 new hires that we have made
First call
their
for
sale
sale.
on first call for a sale.
Yeah.
So that's really amazing. And you can say that's beginner's luck. So we're so lucky to have like 5 people made their first sale on their first call.
Yeah.
Um, and we even have a new hire was like 2 days and generated 5 sales. 2 days, 5 sales.
Yeah.
That's kind of amazing. And everyone's really hype. Everyone's celebrating whenever someone's doing that. So that's what we like. And everyone likes the way we're doing things.
100%. 100%. So, any questions, by the way, before we move on to final wrapping up? If you have any questions, feel free to unmute or just toss them in the chat. But if you're looking to hire sales reps, my recommendation is go for hire from Latin America. We go through between 800 to 1,000 applicants a day. And so when people come to us and they're like, "Oh, I'm just thinking about doing it on my own," or "I'm thinking about going with this other company that hires from the Philippines." And it's like, dude, we go through so many applicants. We can get you way better quality than you can get anywhere else. And then if you hire one person from us, you get 50% discount on any future hire. So like we become not only the best quality, but also the cheapest. So if any of you here are past clients and you want to hire sales reps, you'll get a 50% discount on our fee. But if you're a new client and you want to, you know, see what options you've got. We don't, when we sell people, we have them put down a $500 deposit. It's 100% refundable. You put down the refundable deposit, you meet the hiring managers, tell them what you want. They get you, 4 to 6 applicants. You meet those applicants, and if you're interested in moving forward at that point, that's when we issue you the invoice, and you have to pay us obviously in order to move forward. But if you decide, look, I met the applicants, I'm really not happy with the applicant pool you provided me, you can cancel it anytime. You can say, just give me my $500 back. We'll send it back. No problem. No questions asked. Or you might decide, look, I just don't want to hire somebody right now. I want to do it later. No problem. Get your money back. Doesn't matter. Part of the reason why we have a high closing rate is because we take away all the risk on the sales process. Like people can start with meeting our applicants, and all they do is they just put down the refundable deposit, because that makes them comfortable. They get to see the product, they get to see the quality, they get to see the interviews and all of that before they ever have to fully commit and pay us the full invoice. So that's kind of how we do it. So if you're interested in that, you want to start that process, whether it's for a sales job or any other roles. I mean, we can do admin, customer support, executive assistants, graphic design, marketers, which by the way, I need to do another one, where we go over marketers, because marketing directors are one of the best hires you'll make. And a lot of people don't do them as much as they should. So if you're interested in any of these roles, just go to the website, remoteleverage.com, and you can book a call directly on the website, remoteleverage.com. I'm going to put it in chat. Chris is saying, I'm a happy customer. I appreciate that, Chris. Thank you so much. What CRM do you use for you and your salespeople to track revenue? So, and yes, I'll post this recording on YouTube and I'll send you the link. I'll make a note of that. So what CRM do you use? We used to use HubSpot. Honestly, I hated HubSpot. It was so sluggish. It was so slow. And then we ended up moving to a CRM that's specifically for recruiting companies like us. So it wouldn't be irrelevant. It's called Recruit CRM. Um, but I like how customizable it is and everything. The way we track revenue is we use Stripe for the initial $500 deposits, and then we use QuickBooks for the invoices when someone is ready to pay us our full fee. And so we just pull up the sales and every month, and then we combine those numbers, and that's how we do it. And I make these numbers public. I post them in our group chats. I want everyone to know where we're at every month, because I want everybody to focus on the big goal. And the big goal right now is, we need to get to the 500,000 a month by June. And so everybody's focus is just that.
Oh, I told the team our goal is 1 million in revenue for the year. That's what we're
By the end
working
of the year.
on.
That's yeah.
Before the year ends, that's what we're working on.
You're
And
more
something that
aggressive than me. I don't know if I will get there, but I think
we're gonna get there.
I think we're definitely gonna get there sometime in Q1, but I don't know if before the end of the year. We'll see how difficult it is.
We will prove you young. One thing that I would like to add is like if you have now from the Philippines or elsewhere that you're happy with, you're paying $6 for $3 per hour and you're happy with them. If you try us, you'll discover that, there's something better. You're missing out because we have a lot of clients who just like, okay, I thought I have the best BAs already and I'm setting for, I'm settled with this results that they're giving me, but I could have gotten more if I went with you guys in the first place because we really offer high quality VAs.
Yeah. I used to hire from the Philippines. Like I'm sure I told you before, Nick. Like all my hires were just Filipino VAs, and at some point, and I have nothing against the Filipinos. My wife is Filipina, by the way. I even married a Filipina. So I'm not trying to be racist or anything. But what happens over time is that there was so much demand that they can easily get multiple jobs, and they didn't really care about their jobs anymore. Where it's like they hop in, they're not performing well, they're working multiple jobs at the same time, and you can't, sometimes you don't find out. And then what happens is they just, when you fire them, they just go get another job because there's so many jobs. Everybody's hired from the Philippines, right? And I didn't like that. And a lot of times when you hire people from the Philippines, they're not working at large companies. The people that hire Filipino VAs tend to be smaller companies that don't have good operations, they don't have good sales skills, good customer service, good admin. And so you're basically starting somebody off from a blank slate every single time. And so the reason when people think of virtual assistants, they always think of low quality, they always think of low skills. And it's true because the experience they've had has always been with Filipino VAs. Now, I'm not saying that's true for all the roles. Like I still hire Filipino VAs for some roles. Like graphic design, I tend to like the Philippines more generally, video editing, things like that. My marketing director is actually from the Philippines as well. Nick's, our hiring manager, is from the Philippines. But the point is, like, I'm very selective on which roles I hire from the Philippines. Um, Generally, I found overall the skills are much higher in Latin America than in the Philippines. Scott is asking, I tuned in late. Do you suggest we pay people or do we decide on the hourly rate? So we will give you a range and you can choose whatever you want, but we'll give you a range. We're like, look, if you want to get good sales reps, do between $8 to $12 per hour, somewhere in that range. If you want to hire customer support, it's usually if you want someone entry level 6 to 7, but more experience or 8 to 10. And so what I recommend is just go with our range. And then what we'll do is when we give you 4 to 6 people to interview for the first batch, we will give you people that are a little bit below your range, a little bit higher, and then at your range. So that way you get to compare, okay, what does a $10 per hour person looks like versus an $8 per hour person versus a $6 per hour person. And so that way you get to see the difference. A lot of times when people see the difference and the higher level people, the higher price ones, they almost always go with the higher price ones because they're like the skill level is so good. I just can't
Mhm.
settle for the $6 per hour people anymore. So
That
great
is so true.
question. Yeah. Any other final questions before we wrap up? I hope this was helpful to you guys that attended. This is the first one we do, honestly, and I don't I hope it wasn't too boring. We tried our best. Thank you both for your time. We're very happy with your firm, and our executive assistant Laura from Colombia is fantastic. About to hire for more sales and marketing roles with David. That's awesome, Cassandra. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. That means a lot. What if I want someone who will manage the VA for me? That's terrible. Staffing companies do that. They say that they will manage the VA for you, but the reality is they don't know your business. They don't know how you want things done. They're not going to come in and build out your sales process or build out your executive assistant process. You want someone that is already skilled, that can get accustomed to the way you do things and then be under your company, under your management. You don't want a third party person telling them what to do because then that defeats the whole culture.
I can answer this because I used to be the head of sales of the second biggest virtual assistant company. Uh, so what we do is we offer that option wherein we'll manage the VAs for you. But what does that management means is just like tracking their payroll and paying them
Yeah.
timesheet and payment. That's what they're doing. They're not doing real management because they don't know about their business. So how can they offer the management? So anyone would offer you that they would manage their your VAs. What they'll just be doing is track their time and then pay them.
Yeah.
That's the management. That's what they call management.
Yeah.
They cannot coach. They cannot provide real-time feedback because they don't know your business.
Yeah.
So it's a false benefit. Like
Yeah.
it sounds good, but it doesn't really add value.
They're charging you $3,000 a month to process payroll. Blows my mind when people
Yeah,
sign up for that. It's like, are you
that's really
crazy?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really crazy.
Makes no sense. All right. It seems
I
like
feel guilty. Yeah,
you
go
feel
ahead.
guilty because you sold it before. No, I am a
Yeah,
big
it's
fan
so
of following an ethical approach. It's like, look, honestly, the work that we do is in the hiring. Let's just get paid for that one time. That's it. You don't need to pay us ever again, unless you want to hire more people. What are your thoughts about using an AI-based salesperson that can have an interactive conversation with the prospect VAs versus live people? Scott, I've seen a lot of these AI sales reps. They're not developed enough yet. Yeah, it's like it's so obvious that it's AI. And to me, my leads are so expensive and we make so much money per successful customer that I don't want to risk $170 lead or $200 lead um, on just one instance. Imagine 8 leads a day with AI. It's like, no, I'd rather pay somebody, have a real person who's trained, who knows what they're doing, close these people versus some, pre-programmed AI that doesn't sound good. So I just don't think we're there yet in terms of technology. Maybe one day, but
yeah.
we're not even close, in my opinion. And people get frustrated. Like when I call into a company and I hear these like AI, whatever, it's like, tell me what your problem is. I'll connect to
Oh,
the right. And it's like, I get so frustrated. I'm like, just get me to a freaking human. I want to talk to a human. I don't want to go through this whole, crap. And I feel like the companies that use AI sales reps will probably experience the same thing.
that's true.
Yeah. It's always the demos. Yeah, they always sound great on the demos, but it's like I haven't seen one instance where a client was happy with them. It's just I haven't seen it yet. And they always sound good on the recordings and on the demos, but even on the recording, you can very easily tell it's AI. It sounds too perfect. People don't sound perfect. Like Nix and I are having a discussion. I'm messing up sometimes. He's messing up sometimes, and I think that people connect with that versus if you sound too polished, too perfect, it's like it's just a turn off in my opinion. Anyways, I feel like any other questions? It seems like that was it. Yeah, I don't see any other questions. Cool. Well, guys, again, if you want to book a call with our sales reps or and sign up, feel free to do that. Remoteleverage.com. If you've hired from us in the past and you want to hire more people, reach out to whoever your hiring manager is, or just email admin@remoteleverage.com and we'll connect you with the hiring manager if you lost their contact info. That's fine. We'll help you with that. But anyway, appreciate you all attending. Hope you learned a lot. Hope you had fun with
Thank you.
this. And if you have any questions, just always feel free to reach out. And we'll see you all on the next webinar.
Thanks, everyone.